Our band teacher made one mistake too many, but we made sure it counted.
Typical band kid behavior, counting.
This happened in the early 2000s in my junior year of high school. The district had just built the third high school in our city, and most of the teachers were new. The band director was one of those new hires. He was qualified for the job, but had zero people skills and was extremely abrasive towards students. Oh. By the way, this comes from Heavy Ad 9344, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I am Savannah.
I am Dakota.
I'm Keon.
And we are here to give some good advice, goofily. But we don't have all the answers. We don't want to tell you what we would do in this situation, but let us know what you little band freaks would do in the comments. As OP says, he had previously taught university and could not wrap his head around the fact that high school students are not college-level music majors who live in practice rooms and write symphonies in their sleep. It's true. His normal behavior consisted of berating students for not knowing university-level curriculum, talking down to everyone about how he can't understand why they were so incompetent, and stopping rehearsals to go on long tangents about things that had nothing to do with music.
Wow. Sounds just like a bad version of the guy from Whiplash. I mean, the guy from Whiplash is already bad. What was that guy's name? Fletcher.
Fletcher?
The professor.
J.K. Simmons?
Yeah, and he's just like,
Fletcher?
yeah, but yeah, this is high school band. Don't need the rushing or dragging energy in high school band.
Every day, at least 2 to 3 students would leave class in tears. Okay, that's a horror. That's actually
This is giving. This is literally giving Whiplash. Yeah.
It's giving the movie. It's giving the movie.
We complained to the higher-ups, and they repeatedly brushed it off. He made students hate attending his music classes, and many dropped band and orchestra as a result. Ugh. One of the classes he taught was supposed to be Intro to Music Theory. For those who don't know music, this would be a class that should typically teach things like different types of chords, the definition of music symbols, the logic behind key changes, etc. At the first class of the year, there were about 25 kids enrolled. Most of these were music and drama kids who wanted to be teachers or performers in the arts one day. On the first day, he handed us a quiz because he wanted to see how much we knew. I think there were maybe 3 to 5 kids who were able to attempt a single question on the quiz. No one got a single answer right. That's how advanced it was. Imagine signing up for what you think is a basic pre-algebra class and walking into advanced calculus. Ugh. This teacher spent the entire class period berating us for not being prepared when no one could even attempt his quiz. We told him this is an intro class. None of us have learned anything like this before. And his response was, really?
I want J.K. Simmons to play this teacher and go,
Are you serious?
thank you.
Really? I thought this was an advanced class. The next class period, there were maybe 15 kids enrolled. He did the same thing. Asked us to perform something we can't even understand, and then berated us for not even being prepared. At every class, he would say, I thought you were all musicians. This is supposed to be an advanced class. By the end of the second week, there were 6 students left enrolled in this class, including myself. He softened up slightly to those of us who stayed and seemed to think we were his prize students and that this was his class of elites. Think Professor Slughorn from Harry Potter.
Oh, yes. The secret society of musical
Slugs.
students.
In truth, we all thought he was insane and cruel, but the 6 of us had sufficient music background and experience to understand a fraction of his lessons. Without the bell curve, we all would have failed his class. A few months go by, and we are at the end of the first semester. By now, every student connected to music in the school hated this guy, and repeatedly complaints had done nothing to fix the problem. The admins filed away every complaint, but never did anything more than remind him that he's supposed to be more kind to students. He changes nothing and still berates students and makes them cry. So when it comes to the final exam for his theory class, he decides that he wants to give it to us early so that on the day the final is supposed to be scheduled, we can have a class party instead.
Big party time.
Wow, this guy is fun. He's all business up front and then party in the back.
Yeah, he's like, we're going to have a party where I play every single piece that you could have done better, and I explain why it should have been better.
God. No. Of the 6 of us left, 4 of us have the same period after his class together as well. That class was AP English, and we were prepping for the AP test. We had no problem with the class party and music right before the AP prep exam, so we didn't complain. The day comes of our music final exam, and after we finish the test, he tells us that for our class party, he wants to take us all to breakfast at a new IHOP that opened 20 minutes away. What? That opened 20 minutes away. His class was first period. We try to tell him all the issues with this plan. We aren't allowed to leave campus without permission slips. It was a closed campus policy due to an incident where a student who left campus for lunch had a fatal accident. Whoa.
Man, one guy ruining it for everyone else, man.
I hate that guy. We will not get back in time for second period, which is a final exam.
All right. Also, R.I.P. that guy.
Also,
I guess.
R.I.P. him.
Yeah, sorry. Well,
He
skill issue.
doesn't have permission to remove us from the campus. What if there is an emergency and we are unaccounted for because we aren't even at the school? His solution was to tell us that after the start of class on our final class day, we would be going to IHOP, and if we wanted to join him, that was our choice. But if we didn't, we would have to stay in the classroom and not bring attention to the next that there was no class and no teacher. Without talking about it to each other, the six of us saw an opportunity to finally get the admin's attention to the complete disregard this teacher had for rules and policies. We made sure to inform our English teacher that we might be late to class on the day of the final due to a class field trip for music theory. She was irritated and reminded us that this final was very important and that she would not give us extra time if we came in late. We told her that we understood and gave her details about where we would be and what we would be doing and who we would be with. She said she still expected us to be in her class. On the day of the final, we all went to IHOP. It took forever to get there because of construction and forever to get our food because the restaurant was newly opened and had a large number of customers. We got back to the school halfway through our second period class. The admins were waiting for us. Security was waiting for us. My English teacher had called the front office to complain that 4 of her best students were missing and that she was fairly certain we weren't even on campus. The admins had checked attendance and seen that we were all marked present that morning, and they had searched the entire school looking for our class. The 4 of us walked into our English final to a livid teacher. We knew she was pissed at us, but couldn't punish us beyond saying we had the same remaining time as the rest of the class, since we had been with a teacher in our absence. None of us did as well in the final as we could have if we had the full 87 minutes, but we were doing well enough in the class already that the lesser marks didn't affect our overall grade too much. The band teacher had a private reprimand that was so loud the entire school could hear it. He was confused as to why the administration was upset that he took minor children off campus without permission or notice, without proper school transportation, or even a good reason.
Hey, I'm sorry. I thought this was America, and there was always a good reason to go to IHOP in America.
Yeah. There should be always an excuse to go to the International House of Pancakes.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that we don't think anything of the baked Alaska here. Okay? Sorry. I've been yelling at these kids all year, and I thought maybe they deserve a flapjack on me.
He stayed with his usual attitude, but this time towards the admins. Why are you guys so incompetent about this? They are old enough to drive. What's the problem? By the way, we'll never have a problem with you listening to full episodes with stories just like this. Go to Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcast app and just type in, okay, story time. Well, there's still a little bit left. I'm thinking this man is getting fired. He's getting the big F.
Good job. It's always nice when there's like a mean teacher, but they have like, like the redeeming quality to them. Like once you wear them down, like I was the expert at that.
At wearing them down?
I was the expert at wearing down
Shocking.
the teachers who were the most mean and making them my friend. But this guy just sounds like bad. It doesn't sound like he has like the other side of him that's like really cool. He's just like a music snob who thinks he's better than everyone. And he probably got fired from his job teaching university because he's intolerable. That would be my take. So good job getting him fired, I guess.
The English teacher, who I actually adore and was one of the best teachers I've ever had, absolutely went mama bear on the administration about how they could continue to employ someone who disrespects the other teachers so much as to deprive his students of their final exams and put them in potentially dangerous circumstances. He told us to drive ourselves to the restaurant, and any accidents or medical issues would have been the school's fault. He was fired later that day.
That's what a crazy take. It's like, whatever. I don't care. Drive yourself, and if you, it's the school's fault. I don't care. And the school's like, yeah, so we immediately are going to fire you now.
I don't care. I'm getting pancakes.
It is annoying, though, that they're like, we're not doing anything until he puts the school at legal jeopardy. Him just being an intolerable ass to our students. We don't really care. We need a music teacher.
Many of the students had a gleeful reaction, but confused reaction, since the 6 of us weren't talking to anyone about it. Almost all people knew that this tyrant of a teacher was gone. We didn't spread the story very much of how it happened because we still feared being reprimanded for our involvement, since he technically gave us a choice to go with him or stay. But I always smiled when people gossiped about what the final straw was that got him fired. Fired.
And that is the end of that story. My teacher thought he had power over me, but I knew exactly how to stop him.
Yeah,
with a
so how
laser
you
in his
stop him
eye,
with a
I
laser in
guess.
his eye.
Okay.
Boom. So everyone can go suck it.
This was over a decade ago. Time is a cruel mistress. So some details are foggy. I was going into my senior year at a small rural high school where the smart kids were sent off during their junior and senior years to a distance learning building to take college courses. By the way, this comes from user Liberty or Death. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Dakota.
I'm Savannah.
I'm Keon.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have the answers to everything, you know? We only know what we know. So let us know what you know in the comments. Tell us your thoughts, your ideas, your hopes, your dreams. And OP says, junior year, the woman in charge of us in distance learning. Oh, so you were one of the smarty pantses. One of the women in charge had been teaching in our school district for 15 plus years. She knew us, our families, and taught us in multiple grades and coached about 3/4 of us in track or tennis. Keep in mind, our entire student body, K through 12, wouldn't have broken 500 kids even if they padded the numbers with voluntary pre-K and GED students. She knew us, our antics, and generally trusted us to get our work done. She made sure we actually watched our classes and didn't get into a bind on our assignments. Outside of that, as long as we were doing something productive and had our main stuff done, our time was ours to use as we saw fit. In my case, it was mostly spent playing the guitar and reading up on the playbook for whatever athletic competition I had that week. I was an academically good but insufferably lazy student. Summer passed, the first day of senior year came around, and the teacher we had all adored had moved away. Her husband got a job somewhere else that paid big money. In her place was some tall, red-haired doofus none of us had ever seen before. It turned out he was the new head coach for girls basketball and our new distance learning supervisor. The fact that he went from university to high school should have been a red flag to the people that hired him. Oh, it's a little unfair.
Hey, shout out this dude, Rez. Did you get the attention you wanted?
Our college courses didn't start for a couple of weeks, so he spent the entire first day pontificating on how lucky we all were to have him, since he had spent the last 10 years in the university world and knew how it worked, and would make sure we weren't just slacking off because we were seniors. Whatever. A couple of weeks went by of this coach, we'll call him Coach Briggs, making us do pointless practice assignments like writing a paper on respect in APA format or researching a new car for his wife while citing our sources, all under the guise of making sure we were prepared. The students all politely informed him that these courses were through a community college and were generally no more difficult than normal AP high school classes, except for the STEM courses. Fast forward 2 weeks and courses started. Finally, we thought. Coach Briggs's antics throughout the year would have been bearable had he not made a habit of insulting students who did something that wasn't to his liking, or held a political view contrary to the university culture he came from, which was all of us. He went to demanding that we submit all assignments to him before our actual professors, which he then did not go through quickly, causing a great many of us to lose points for late assignments. We started ignoring this and sending him a copy at the same time we submitted the assignment. He also kept telling us all that we were in no way mature enough for this kind of learning. We all had to maintain an institutional GPA of 3.0 or better to stay in the program, and we averaged a 3.8. He also said that if it were up to him, he'd take our entitled bottoms right back over to the main building for real classes. Dude's just mad y'all aren't him. That's funny. That's funny. As a teacher, I feel like you're ill-suited.
Maddie ain't gotten over his. Eh? Pontiac looking.
And she's from Ohio, so she can say that.
Skibbity.
The straw that broke the camel's back came at the end of the fall semester. We had all taken our finals and passed, and were looking forward to an easy few weeks. Coach Briggs came in that morning in a worse mood than usual, which I found out years later, this was the day his divorce proceedings began, and started berating one of the girls for how she was dressed. She ignored him, as did the rest of us, as we were all just making it through to the end of the semester. Coach Briggs then began one of his speeches about how terrible and entitled we all were. No one was paying attention, which made him even more angry. But he knew he couldn't really punish us for anything, so he zeroed in on one kid who had been placed in the classroom for remedial learning, as it was a quiet, consistent environment. He was the one student in the room actually working on something. Coach Briggs walked over and asked, "So, Danny, what are you doing?" "So, Danny, did you get divorced today?" "No." "Hey, Danny, just want to let you know, no matter how good that homework is, she's going to leave you."
What? Mr. Briggs? I did my homework on time this time.
Danny looked up somewhat rudely and replied, "I'm trying to study for my tests coming up so I don't get held back, Coach Briggs." Coach Briggs scoffed and said, "For what? So you can eventually go flip burgers at the Dairy Queen? Please." Oh my God.
Burgers at Dairy Queen. What?
Please. You're not going to get it done anyway. So have some respect and pay attention when an adult is speaking. By the way, Danny makes a 6-figure income and is a welder now. Man, this guy's divorce is looking rough.
It's just everything's going downhill. I love it.
Wow. Wow. Ow.
That's so funny.
This guy's going to lose his career as an educator, have to go to technical school, learn how to do welding, and he's going to show up, and guess who's going to be his overseer? His direct report is going to be Danny. Danny's going to say,
"Mr. Briggs, well.
Hey, Mr.
Look
Briggs.
who we got here, huh?"
"That was it for me," says OP. "Danny happened to be my cousin, and I was intimately familiar with his academic and personal struggles, and knew how hard he was working to straighten up. Our family is a rather well-known and affluent one in our community, and Danny was cruelly regarded as a screw-up by some folks outside of our family, despite his overwhelmingly kind disposition. Now, this move-in dipstick was insulting the most vulnerable member of the class, and my family. It was time to hit this guy in the worst way I could think of, right in the balls."
Right in your burger flipping balls.
No, they did not commit physical violence. OP continues, "Without hurting myself too badly or getting arrested. My mother had been teaching for 25 years in the district at that point, and my stepfather is a retired guidance counselor, so I knew the rules. I had previously refrained from honestly discussing his conduct with my parents because Coach Briggs' daughter had actually become part of our friend circle, and I knew how hard life would be on her if her dad lost his job, and his reputation already made her life hard enough." That's so unbelievably thoughtful, OP. That's all I have to say about that. That was very
Brings a
very
tear to
thoughtful.
my frickin' eye.
The college courses kids also all did theater and athletics together, so she was part of our life. Again, tiny school. Half of the varsity offensive line was part of a district-winning production of Flowers for Algernon. Ooh, I love that. And our star running back was also a regional qualifier in robotics.
Dang, they do it both here at this school. That's crazy.
They're smart and they're strong.
You gotta love that.
The scariest combo. Anyway, she was graduating with the rest of us and going to school out of state, so collateral damage would be minimal. Knowing what would happen next, I casually remarked, "Coach Briggs, It seems to me that if you knew half as much about basketball as you think you know about Danny, you'd probably still have your job at Millfield University, or would have gotten your contract renewed for another year at the last school board meeting. Where will you go after the school year ends? Coach Briggs.
Yeah, Coach Briggs. Where are you gonna go, huh?
Yeah, Coach Briggs, what's the plan, Coach Briggs? The room went entirely quiet. That information wasn't in the newspaper yet. Coach Briggs's face turned an absolutely vibrant shade of red.
Ooh.
His voice shaking, he told me, "Outside. No."
Just outside. No.
I calmly set down my book and stepped out into the foyer of the building. Coach Briggs followed me out, closed the door, and proceeded to scream every insult and cuss word he could think of into my face for at least 4 straight minutes. I was the most smug, lazy, entitled little crap he had ever seen, apparently. I may have been able to pull the wool over the eyes of my pastor, every other teacher, his daughter, and all my coaches, who were constantly irritated with me for being lazy, but god dang it, I couldn't fool him. I was never going anywhere in life and was just going to ride my family name like a parasite, and to be honest, his lung capacity was kind of impressive. I don't think he took a single breath for the entirety of his rant.
Wow.
Once he stopped to catch his breath, I asked, "Coach Briggs, may I go back to reading now?"
Nothing phases OP.
Coach Briggs screams,
No! Your ass is going straight to Principal Henderson, and I will write down exactly what you said, and you will sign the dang thing. Do you understand?
Can I be OP?
I replied calmly.
Yes, sir. I'd be happy to sign that document, sir. Thank you.
Coach Briggs gave me a questioning gaze. Maybe one of these.
I feel like it'd be like,
Maybe that. Oh. Actually, I'd be happy to go down to Principal Henderson, I continued. I need to ask him for a letter of recommendation for a scholarship, and of course, he'll ask me what led me to saying something so disrespectful, and I can't lie to him. And then I'll mention our little chat out here.
ooh.
By this point, the teacher in the other classroom, who I also happened to be related to, crazy,
Wow, he runs the school.
they came out to see what was going on, what was the commotion, and heard at least the tail end of his glorious speech. She was about to say something, but I turned and gave her a smile and a wink.
Aw, wait, that's cute. I love a good smile and wink.
Little. I had it in the bag. 18-year-old me was riding high. Coach Briggs sent me back into the distance learning room and followed me in. I stood by the door awaiting my office referral. A minute went by and it never came. He finally said, "Sit down, Jones." I replied, "Coach Briggs, I believe classroom insubordination requires an office referral." He said, "If that's the way you want to go." And his voice started to rise, but at this point, he understood his situation.
Do you think Coach Briggs, when he gets in this mindset where he's gonna yell at someone, he's like, "You're getting into the brig."
"You're about to be sent to the brig."
Put him in the brig.
The Briggsler.
You're about to be put in the big old brig.
He wrote up the office referral and I walked happily down to the admin office. The principal was surprised to see me and even more surprised that I'd been sent there on disciplinary action. I told him what had happened and I got detention for 1 day as punishment for open disrespect of a teacher, which I kind of deserved, along with a thank you for my honesty. The next 2 weeks were heavenly. Coach Briggs barely spoke a word and spent most of his time glaring at me or looking at job listings. But by the way, you can look at the plethora of episodes full of stories just like this one that we have waiting for you on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search OK Storytime wherever you enjoy podcasts and find us. We're waiting. Anyway, I hope this guy gets fired in the funniest way possible. Let's finish this story. At the start of the spring semester, he wasn't in distance learning. In fact, he was nowhere to be seen. It turned out he'd accepted a last-minute opportunity somewhere else before the Christmas break, and had to move there in time for spring practices to start. What a coinky-dink. I found out years later that Coach Briggs was soon let go from his next coaching job and had gotten divorced. Other faculty had apparently repeatedly complained about his conduct, and he was on incredibly thin ice long before my little stunt. Honestly, I kind of feel sorry for the guy after writing this memory down. Well, that is the end of that story.